Well, VisionQuest as an organization began about my second year into sobriety. And when I started off on the journey of recovery, I recollected sitting in the classroom in 1974 in Hazleton at Kassan, talking to Vernon Stevens, who was my instructor. He had just finished carving a small wooden canoe, traditional style on the Northwest Coast. And I said to him at that time, wouldn't it be something if we could put a canoe in the water here and go all the way to Victoria, like the old people did? And I felt that we should do it then, and I thought we would very soon. Didn't realize that it would take 23 years and I'd be 51 years old instead of 27 or 28 years old doing it. And through this documentary, many things will be evident as you listen and watch the people. And to me, one of the greatest events that will ever be in my life was this journey of healing, the root of the ancestors, visiting 27 villages, talking to chiefs and elders and children, and watching the joy on their faces and listening to the messages of hope that here was a group of people dedicated to building a recovery center to help people with dysfunctional family systems and addictive personalities to recover. When we underwent that journey and did it, we didn't realize really the impact that it was going to have. I saw people, I saw tears flow. I saw RCMP looking at First Nations people, and First Nations people looking at cops who were there usually to enforce some law in a whole different light. And it was a beautiful experience for me. And I know that it will change the way the First Nations people look at the RCMP, and it already has changed the way the RCMP as a force deals with First Nations peoples. And to see a recovery center built for all people of all cultures, of all races, of all languages, available to anyone who wants healing, not only in Canada, but the rest of the world. To see that built here in British Columbia, when it happens, I will be able to look at that and just say, I'm glad that I had a small part in helping this to come together. And so, the summer of 1997 will go down in my books as one of the greatest summers I've ever had in my life, and has given me faith in humankind and in people, period.
The celebration marks day one of a month-long journey, part of a larger struggle to change the way we think. The Kassan Nation, like so many other native communities in BC, has been torn apart by substance abuse. It's responsible for up to 90% of police activity in communities like this one in Hazleton. So the RCMP, which has been policing these communities for over a century, have come to join a unique project to confront the evils of alcohol and drugs. While this journey begins in a native community, substance abuse is not solely a native problem. It is rampant throughout society. The leader of this initiative is himself in recovery. His vision to build and provide support for anyone who needs it.
We want to build a recovery center similar to the one that myself and some of my siblings went to in Arizona. And it helps us to walk in the strength and the beauty of who we are.
We're going to be working for a common goal, for a problem that affects all of us.
There is a warm feeling among the people. There are smiles of hope. They sense a new approach to the pariah that has preyed on families and destroyed lives. They are only too aware that treating substance abusers through law enforcement hasn't worked, that the cycle of abuse and arrest can only be reversed by dealing with the addictive personality. And that's where the VisionQuest dream begins. And two men who understand that are a native artist and a white cop, both recovering alcoholics, now best friends on a common course.
The addictive personality that puts locks on our doors, that kills our families, the addictive personality that abuses our children, that beats the mothers, that personality is making work for the police. It's making society a difficult place to live in. And when we are successful in having that first person in recovery walk out the front door and face the world, no longer will he be breaking into your home. No longer will he be killing your family on the road. Canada's going to be a better place to live in. And that's crime prevention, and that is the reason the RCMP are involved. This is crime prevention at its finest.
When I came to that place to make the decision, I had a choice, and it was a bullet or change. And the bullet would be self-inflicted. So I wouldn't be here if I wasn't in recovery. I'd be gone.
So that makes it more special.
Yeah.
Sure, any success that I have today, whether it be at work or with my family, I probably wouldn't be here today if I hadn't found recovery.
They have come to Hazelton to begin a journey by water to raise awareness for the project. Before setting off, the paddlers in their canoes are blessed in a traditional way. And they immerse their bodies into the chilling waters of the Skeena, much the same as natives did years ago before embarking on long journeys. They bow to the north, south, east, and west, connecting with the river, looking for vision and strength.
The warrior! The warrior!
The canoes are fiberglass cast in the mold of the Aboriginal craft that traveled the BC coast centuries ago. And these paddlers are eager to face the challenge ahead.
Your stomach turning a little bit now?
With excitement. Yes, very much so.
It's nice to finally have it start. Just like a hockey game. I'm always nervous till the first shot.
Like the early tribes, Journeys 97 will follow traditional trading routes. 1,600 kilometers by canoe, from Hazelton to the Pacific, south to Victoria. 31 days on the water, stopping at communities along the way, following in the wake of those traders and RCMP patrols of the early days. The project is Journeys 97 under the auspices of the VisionQuest Recovery Society. The simple goal is to raise awareness and the necessary funds to build a treatment facility, the likes of which does not exist in Canada today. The center will focus on the addictive personality which drives alcohol, drug, sex, and power abuse. The patient's race or economic status will not matter.
Over the next hour, we'll follow this journey as it fulfills another goal, to build bridges and mend fences between the RCMP and Native peoples. It's the belief of everyone involved in this project that if we can better understand the power and the hold that drug, alcohol, and other addictions have over us, we'll be able to battle those addictions and recover, and all of society will be better off. Now, these are lofty goals, and to achieve them, the RCMP, Native people, and others are pulling together on this vision quest, this journey of hope.
Leaving Hazelton, the paddlers venture out onto one of Canada's great rivers. A heavy spring runoff has the Skeena flowing high on its banks. A 16-knot current at their back is pushing the paddlers toward their goal. There are close to 70 voyagers taking turns pulling 3 canoes downstream. With BC's breathtaking scenery all around. The first community is eagerly awaiting their arrival. In centuries past, coastal nations would stop at the old village of Kitsekula to trade. Today, as in the past, visitors use the time-honored custom of asking permission to come ashore.
Captain Mark, please, can we come ashore?
I wish to welcome you all. I'm very pleased of what's happening. I'm very pleased of the event that's taken place, the journey for unity. It's been so long that we have almost been forgotten.
The people of the village show strong support for the travelers. It's an indication of what's ahead. This community, like the last one, wants to move forward away from alcohol and drug abuse that has clouded its past.
They're making that traditional approach to healing by utilizing the canoes, and that's the traditional way of passing messages, sending any kind of messages, and this is a message of hope.
The river challenges the paddlers. Their courage, determination, and skills are tested. At several points, the rapids threaten to topple the canoes. It's a welcome break to call into another village. As a show of respect, they back the canoes onto shore, just as early native traders and RCMP patrols did years ago.
I'm a civilian. What I've been privileged to enjoy in these communities, what the people have shared with us, it's enormous. Stories that people have told us about their families, and recovery. And the idea of the whole idea of Butedale, a recovery center is important, and a real vision. So yeah, it's huge.
At Port Simpson, at the mouth of the Skeena, the reception is almost overwhelming. More than 300 Tsimshian natives in ceremonial dress greet them at the dock. The paddlers have hit salt water on their way south, and news of the journey and the message of hope they bring is spreading through coastal communities.
The rugged BC coast lies ahead. Some of the most beautiful, uninhabited, pristine landscape on the globe. It hasn't changed in thousands of years, and the paddlers feel privileged to pull their way through the islands and coves. It's a long way from where the idea of this journey was first envisioned 2 years earlier, on a frozen lake near the Yukon border in the northwestern corner of BC. It was back on March 19, 1995, when the Mounties set out on Teslin Lake. Here to commemorate the death of a fellow officer 10 years earlier. Constable Mike Boudet was a member of the ERT team sent to arrest a mad trapper who had terrorized residents in these parts for some 13 years. Boudet was shot in the back by Michael Orris, an American draft dodger, whose diary contained passages where he revealed his hatred toward authoritarian figures such as police. He vowed, "I will kill them." Even though the Mounties had him surrounded, the cagey bushman in waist-deep snow slipped around behind, turning the tables on them.
I yelled to Mike, "He's right behind you." And as soon as I said that, there was a shot fired. Instinctively, I up and fired the gun right through here. And by the time I recovered from the shot, the face was gone.
Constable Rogers shot the mad trapper before he was able to claim him as his second victim. Rogers was in Orris' sights, but the bullet in the bushman's gun mysteriously misfired. Natives in these parts say it was spiritual intervention. Also unexplained, how did Rogers pull off an impossible shot through the trees to kill the mad trapper?
Something stopped this, and something guided my bullet to stop Orris from doing any more damage. You can turn to whatever belief you've got, but this is physical evidence.
To commemorate the tragedy, the RCMP commissioned Tsimshian native artist Roy Henry Vickers to pay tribute to Boudet on canvas. Vickers is a renowned West Coast artist with an international reputation. His paintings hang in Buckingham Palace, the White House, the Kremlin, museums and private collections throughout the world. His work is a blend of traditional native design and contemporary elements full of symbolism and mystery. Together with his artist friend, Staff Sergeant Ed Hill, Vickers' task was to find a vision that would inspire the commemorative work. He saw 7 swans and an eagle, just as Butedale had seen on that day he was murdered. Vickers also had a plan where the money from the sale of the paintings and prints would be channeled.
My dream, and the dream of many people that I know, is to see a recovery center in Canada, that the likes of which we do not have, and that's a full-blown recovery center dealing with the addictive personality rather than treating the symptom, which is very necessary to deal with the personality and the reasons for addiction.
The Vickers Hill edition sold out, generating the first $100,000 for the VisionQuest Recovery Society, a first step towards a goal of $10 million to build and operate a recovery center. If that seems like a lot of money, consider the problems and cost to society of substance abuse and the addictions they bring. In Canada's prison system, 48% of the inmates say they were substance abusers, alcoholics, drug users, or both when they committed crimes that landed them in jail. And 52% of the murders committed last year were carried out by killers who were drunk or drugged up. In BC, social services and policing costs for alcohol-related problems dig deeply into our pockets, costing taxpayers $943 million, almost $1 billion in the last fiscal year. To understand Vickers' commitment to the VisionQuest project, listen to his tale of how alcohol stole part of his life away.
From the age of 16 or 17 until the age of 45, I drank most of the time. There were periods of 3 or 4 years where I could stop and make a commitment to God and go to church, and then do the thing of falling off the wagon and not going to church and drinking. During that whole process, I went through 2 marriages with 3 beautiful children, 2 other serious relationships. I was violent, abusive, afraid, untrusting of anyone.
It's a pattern with substance abuse. The addictive personality takes over, shattering lives and destroying families. And everyone's a victim, including the abuser.
My whole world really crashed down around me, and I felt like I was a total failure. Total failure. I had tried everything. I was in my 3rd marriage, coming apart, had a beautiful son, and I could not bear the thought of another marriage going to pieces. And to me, that moment, all I could think of was, that's it. You might as well just end it. And I seriously considered taking a pistol and putting a .357 shell into my head.
Instead, Vickers grabbed control of his life and booked himself into the Meadows in Wickenburg, Arizona. Here, the treatment is aimed at the addictive personality that is the root cause of substance abuse of many kinds. Vickers came away from here in recovery, so impressed by the treatment, he wanted to help others.
What I'm going through now is back to sitting with my mother just before she died, complaining about why Canada didn't have a recovery center similar to the Meadows in Wickenburg, Arizona, or the Betty Ford Clinic. That we have a lot of very good centers, but nothing with that sort of a profile. She just quietly said, Roy, you know what needs to be done, so perhaps that's your job. And so I step out and say, this is what I'm going to do, and hope that people catch the vision, which is what has happened with the RCMP.
And that idea led to Journeys 97, a voyage of hope. Vickers is the helmsman of one of the canoes, his paddlers pulling their way down the coast, raising awareness and funds for the cause they believe in.
The canoe has status and symbolism in West Coast life. The pullers in the canoe are members of a community who must support each other. In Native tradition, a young man would go out in his canoe to find his way in life. It's a sacred vessel that promotes healing and clarity of vision.
In the canoe, each one of us is the center of the canoe. Me sitting in the back as the skipper and the helmsman, I'm not the center of that canoe. Each person is. And when we think of that, then we're thinking as one, and we're working as one and pulling together as one. So each canoe is a community. And all of these communities gathered together that are canoes now are traveling as one community. And when I think of it, that's what it's, anyone who wants to step into that canoe of recovery can do it and pull along with everyone else. And it becomes a symbolic, huge canoe that moves. And canoeing is a spiritual experience. When you're out on the ocean, traveling with the elements, the tides, the wind, the sun, the rain, you're experiencing Mother Earth, and you're part of this, an integral part of the world.
Each canoe has a name, Soul Entering with Chris Cooper at the helm. Roy Henry Vickers has named his canoe Nunsul Salis, which means many hands, as many hands are needed to support this journey. And the RCMP canoe is Skookum Kalitan, or Strong Arrow. They all carry the VisionQuest logo, the symbol of woman.
In First Nations peoples on this coast, everything is matriarchal. No one would exist without woman. Woman bears people into this world. The reason I'm doing this is because Mom said, Roy, if you see the job that needs to be done, maybe you're the one to do it. So that's why I'm doing it. So it's fitting that it's woman. It's a woman on my canoe. So it's calling us. Nunsul Salis is a woman. Many hands are women helping women lift in prayer. If it wasn't for the loving prayers of a mother, many men would never make it through this world.
This is Ken Harrington, an RCMP officer from the Campbell River Detachment. Ken has brought something with him that illustrates the spirit of reconciliation and sharing of this VisionQuest journey. Take a look at his paddle.
Aside from the people I'm traveling with, I'm also traveling with the spirit of Max Jakite. At least part of his essence is in the paddle that I carry. Through the process of acquainting Campbell River with VisionQuest and Journeys 97, I was involved in a conversation in one of our local shops and was mentioning to the person I was speaking to that I was planning on building a paddle to carry me through the journey. In the background of the conversation was a rather short First Nations gentleman, and he came up and said he'd be willing to help me cut some wood to make a paddle. I didn't know who he was at the time, didn't know what his background was, knew nothing about him. I understand now that Max is fairly well known in the world of carvers, and for him to take the time to spend with me to work on a paddle to go on the journey was quite an experience. And he said that basically he can't go, but this is a way that part of him can travel on the journey. And so from the start in Hazelton to the end of Victoria, I'll use the Max Jakite's paddle. I know that there have been times on the journey when, you know, the paddle is significantly heavier than the other paddles, but there's been a strength or a power in just carrying it, and when it gets a little bit long and a little bit arduous, as some of the journey has been to this point, I remember the person that built it and the strength that went into it, so it helps perpetuate the journey.
The journey takes the VisionQuest canoes down the protected waters of the Inside Passage, alongside ships of the Alaskan cruise trade. They are 1/3 of the way through their journey, and the pullers are exhausted. Their days are filled with physical exertion, their nights with ceremony and time with the community.
It's just absolutely phenomenal, just phenomenal, beyond whatever we expected.
The receptions in the communities have actually put us behind schedule, because instead of welcoming us, feeding us, and saying goodbye, the communities have embraced the program, the concept.
In Kitkatla a few days earlier, the celebration went well past midnight. This is Roy Vickers' home community, and his many friends raised more than $20,000 for the proposed recovery center. At each community, the visitors change into formal attire. The RCMP in red serge, the Heiltsuk Native chiefs and elders at Bella Bella in their button blankets and headdress. First on shore, the man leading the RCMP contingent for VisionQuest, Inspector John Grant. All the VisionQuest travelers are warmly welcomed, but this hasn't always been the case for the Mounties. Through history, the RCMP has come into Native communities as the enforcement arm of the Canadian government, a government bent on assimilating Natives into white society by suppressing traditional coastal cultures. With this journey, the RCMP hopes to repair some of the damage done.
I feel what I say when I apologize on behalf of our organization. I mean, you think of some of the ceremonies and feasts, the dancing, the regalia, the masks. I mean, we were directly responsible back in the early years of this century for suppressing that. I mean, we were an agent, an arm of the government which attempted to stamp that out. So a lot of the attitudes and beliefs about the RCMP have certainly grown from that. We have to ensure that we seize the momentum, we take the momentum that's been generated by this journey and keep trying to convince our own members that they have to change the way we do business.
At Bella Bella, as in all communities, the welcoming ceremony is followed with a feast and traditional dance, and everyone is invited to donate whatever they can to the VisionQuest Recovery Society. And each community recognizes the value of this journey.
Thank you very much for all that you are doing for the peoples of the Northwest Coast.
This evening ends with a paddle dance. The dancers are young people who will join the journey as it continues south along the coast.
The canoes leave Bella Bella in the early morning rain. For Roy Vickers, the drops symbolize the tears shed by families where substance abuse has taken a toll.
It's all been tugging at your heart?
Very heavy, yeah, but good, a good heavy. I don't think there's a day gone by that I haven't shed a tear.
We're in Lama Pass, just south of Bella Bella. The paddlers are going with the ebbing tide. It makes it easier on them. They're in the canoes for hours. It's grueling work, giving them plenty of time to reflect on the reason why they're here.
We can heal the individual, we can heal the community. We can heal the communities, we can help society, and maybe eventually we'll be out of a job. And that would be a wonderful thing to see a policeman out of a job.
65 kilometers to go before they'll rest again for the night. It'll be their first opportunity to dry out. Word is getting out about the journey. An Alaskan cruise ship slows to salute them. Later, the BC ferry Queen of the North encourages them along. It buoys their spirits because it's cool and the rain is heavy at this time. In late afternoon, the wet and weary paddlers pull into Namu.
What do you see when you turn out the light? I'm not certain, but I know it's mine. Oh, we'll get by with a little help from my friends. Oh, we're gonna try.
The lyrics from the old Beatles tune are very appropriate here, perhaps reflecting the theme of the project. Their refuge is an abandoned fish cannery, an empty warehouse with a roof that doesn't leak. No searching for tent pegs tonight.
This is definitely drier than camping right now.
So right now, an empty warehouse where they used to store fish nets looks pretty good.
Oh, you bet. It's pretty good. We could be doing a lot worse, and I'm thankful for a dry roof, that's for sure.
This is a new recipe we developed in the kitchen just this afternoon.
All they can eat, the meals are wholesome and good. A crew of diligent volunteers do their best to keep the energy level up.
What are you doing there, Annie?
Tossing us out. You have to write speech, you know.
The morning wake-up call signals another day. It's become the trademark of the trip's co-organizer, Staff Sergeant Ed Hill. Back on the water, the crews are enjoying a summer they'll never forget.
The greatness comes from the people that we're meeting, and it's the welcomes we're receiving at each community, the way we're treated, the culture they're sharing with us. It's unbelievable, just unbelievable. More than I ever expected.
On the journey, a paddler who epitomizes the kind of person VisionQuest wants to help. Carver George Innis is a couple of months into recovery after 25 years of alcohol abuse. Over that period, the only sanctuary for recovery he's known is jail.
I had 5 years sobriety and one drink, it's all it takes. You know, you lose it all.
How does that affect your family?
Well, it affected our family quite a bit. And, you know, and since we're real close, you know, the changes that are taking place now through VisionQuest, it's a real big help.
So we tell them, we're from VisionQuest.
Tradition dictates everyone has equal status in a canoe. VisionQuest wants the same for its patients when its recovery center is built. They'll come from all walks of life, and like the paddlers on the month-long voyage, only those who want to help themselves will be allowed in. In addition to the 60 paddlers on this trip, there's a group of dedicated support people who have given up their summer and money to be here. Among the group, a doctor and a couple on their honeymoon. The injuries on the trip sustained crawling in and out of canoes in rough water have been minor so far, treated by a fellow paddler, a doctor and hospital CEO. He has first-hand experience in dealing with the problems of substance abuse, underlying for him the importance of achieving the journey's main goal.
That's been a big eye-opener for us, and we certainly one of the communities we went into, there'd been a young 15-year-old girl who'd committed suicide the week before. Sort of just the whole issue about lifestyle, drugs, alcoholism. It's a big issue for the First Nations communities. It's a big issue for many communities.
The owners of 3 boats, including an 85-foot seiner, have donated the support vessels for the trip. The seiner doubles as a platform for changing crews and a floating bunkhouse to rest up between shifts. The vessels are also galleys because the nearly 100 folks participating work up an appetite. Today's lunch, 160 liters of stew.
Initially, you do the meat, and then you prepare the vegetables one by one, pot after pot. Keep them hot so we can transfer them from one boat to the other, and then from the boat to the shore, and then from the shore into the big pot again. So it's phases. It's stew. It's a work in progress.
Corporate sponsors like Vancouver Island Helicopters and Pacific Coastal Airlines are also donating services transporting food and people around. And the thousands of pounds of groceries are supplied free thanks to one of the boat owners who has a grocery store.
It helped when we knew some people, and it took a single phone call to SuperValue, Superstore, and Weston Bakeries, and they were on board with all the food we need. So
I think this is too important for anyone to ignore. It's something that has to be done, and I fully support Roy and his vision and what Roy and the RCMP plan to do, and I think it is very important.
Another believer is Frank Camp. Now in his 70s, he spent 38 years with the Park Service and loves BC's outdoors. He's on his Zodiac, dawn to dusk, overseeing the safety of the canoes. When he heard about the project, there was no hesitation climbing aboard.
I think part of the VisionQuest project is to try and better the lives of those that are less fortunate than we are.
Feel good you're a part of it?
Very much so. Very much so. Very excited about it. And I hope it comes to some fulfillment in the very near future, because the opportunity here to help people through a program such as this is just unbelievable.
They are together as a team, sharing their most inner thoughts and wishes for those who need help.
Approaching the entrance to Rivers Inlet, the VisionQuest paddlers reach the halfway point in their journey. There's another special night ahead in Oweekeno. Time to tidy up and let off a little steam.
My name's Mr. Huygens, and I'm the instructor for the rest of the paddlers on this journey, and they're doing very good. They had a very busy day today, of course. They're exhausted on this deck here, soaking up the sunshine.
In the early days when the RCMP patrolled this coast, Native people would hide their masks and potlatch relics because the potlatch was outlawed. As part of the healing and reconciliation of the VisionQuest journey, all the travelers, including members of the RCMP, have been invited to a potlatch in Oweekeno. There was a time the RCMP arrival would have created apprehension. As in the past, grizzlies roam the shore and the river's current is strong. But this modern-day visit is filled with welcome. All 75 residents are there to welcome them, grateful for many hands offered in reconciliation. At the evening gathering, the chief acknowledges the RCMP's effort to try to make up for the pain of the past.
I like to say positive things and negative things to balance it out, but I ask you, all of you, RCMP, to make that healing start. Because some of our people here hurt from some misgivings, and we hope that will change.
Like sports heroes, the paddlers have reached celebrity status in these small communities. Their trading cards are in demand.
This is the very best-looking paddler on the team, so it's the most popular card.
They're hoping the next generation will see the RCMP in a different light.
That was a good one, guys.
It was great. Oh, it was great. Good honk. Esther, pull away, stroke.
The sun is now shining. Summer has broken through. The travelers pull into Open Bight, and their spirits rise with the temperatures as they rest and recharge their batteries. But it's also quiet time, a chance to get caught up with personal thoughts and diaries, memories and serious reflections of why they are here.
I feel I'm doing it for all the survivors and victims of the residential schools.
Painful experiences lead many to substance abuse and addiction. And for many, the wounds are still very painful.
Once I put my gear on the Western Spirit, I grabbed a coffee. I was on the bow of the boat enjoying some quiet time. I thought it was loneliness I was feeling. Then I realized it was more pain than anything else. The pain was about the innocence I'd lost 30 years ago. Namu was the place I was sexually abused when I was 8 years old. I felt like I needed to go for a walk to the lake. I needed to let myself feel the pain I'd been carrying for so long. I also wanted to let the shame go that was never mine in the first place.
Noel Vickers also writes that he was picked on and beaten as a boy because he is half Native. His thoughts strike at the heart of the VisionQuest goal because the pain and heartache promotes addictive personalities and substance abuse. From Open Bight, they leave the mainland for the last leg of the journey, crossing at Cape Caution to Vancouver Island. The VisionQuest travelers have been challenged by wilderness and open ocean, and now the beginning of the end, with many more canoes alongside. Pulling into Port Hardy, they link up with several other canoes from tribal journeys on their way to the Aboriginal Games in Victoria. They will travel as a group the rest of the way.
The Native community has provided the magic so far, but today as we speak to you from Port Hardy, we're now coming into the white communities, and I hope they feel the magic, and I hope they generate their own magic, and I hope it grows as a groundswell, because this is about building a recovery center. And if there's magic happening, maybe it's supposed to happen. Maybe this center is supposed to get built very quickly. And so we're looking to the white community to jump on board and be part of the canoe paddle that we're doing.
Further down the coast of Vancouver Island, Campbell River and traditional greetings. And more canoes gather as they move south through Johnson Strait. In the longhouse in the evening, the paddlers are given the equivalent of a Guard of Honor salute. For many on this journey, dances and masks give a privileged glimpse into native culture. They have been paddling for more than 3 weeks now, and they are in the final days of their journey for hope. The 3 original canoes are now 22. Donations for the Recovery Center have been pledged all along the way, but to complete this dream, a lot more will be needed.
The initial funds that we're looking at to build the Recovery Center, that's just the beginning. It's estimated that it costs about $5 million a year to look after up to 40 people continuously. So funds will always be needed. We'll always be looking to people to help us with ideas and things to do. So it's now part of my life for the rest of my life.
I welcome you to come and land on our beaches.
More than 1,000 supporters line the shore in Nanaimo. It's the largest show of support for the visitors so far, and Victoria is still to come. The message here, substance abuse hits all of society and no one is immune.
We represent Yankadene, all nations, all people, all colors.
LA-based Victoria songwriter and producer David Foster is lending his clout to the cause. The Grammy Award winner has donated a song and a CD to the fundraising and pledges to use his influence to help.
I'd like to be, the key to the music industry, and I think there's a lot of areas where we can help with recordings and albums and concerts.
We hold inside all the keys to paradise, all nations.
Farah performs River of Love, the title song on the VisionQuest CD. The Bay is a corporate sponsor. At the Nanaimo store, the official photograph is unveiled. It was taken on Open Bite, and prints are for sale to raise funds. So is the CD, autographed by Farah. And a line of official clothing of the expedition is being sold.
When I think of the response of communities, I don't get to see it much. There's no television in my tent, and I haven't read many newspaper articles. But people who come to me in each of the communities and told me how the press has gotten the word out there, and the response of people to VisionQuest is overwhelming. It all serves to strengthen my resolve to see this through.
In the Longhouse, the thank you song. It's another expression of gratitude for the commitment the paddlers have undertaken and all the goals of VisionQuest. The celebration and the music carry on far into the night. At the reception, an Inuit musician who was inspired to write this song, one he's donating to the VisionQuest project. Willie Thrasher was an alcoholic near death who pulled back from the brink to lead a new life.
I had a chance with a lot of people that cared a lot about me, that pulled me out from the dark side of life. Like I was way down, but I had so many friends that cared. It's like so many friends that seen me on a street, Skid Row, close to it, close to death, and they pulled me out. And now I want to give back. Like I want to give back that and tell people that they don't have to suffer anymore. People that need help, there's a place for them to go and reach out and help.
Willie's unselfish contribution speaks to the heart of the VisionQuest journey. His friends helped him out of the gutter when alcohol had taken over his life. Now he wants to do the same for others.
We can work it out, get one life. another person a chance. Together we can stop the tears on the dark side of life. 1,000 miles I'll travel for you. 1,000 miles I'll travel for you. Let's take it home.
I don't think it's all really sunk in yet. It's just kind of like a dream. And you know you're going to wake up, but you don't want to wake up.
The end is in sight, and the paddlers take one last ceremonial dip in the ocean. They're just outside Victoria, a day away from the final pull.
We've become very, very close. I think in a way we're really happy, a tremendous sense of accomplishment.
The seed has been planted, but it's only the first chapter in a long and ambitious process to raise the millions needed to build and operate the recovery center for addicted people.
We're really looking, after the trip to kind of build on the momentum and really start the fundraising in earnest. The concert tomorrow, we know we're going to generate some funds. Another music CD in the works. There's all kinds of things. I think we'll raise the money rather quickly, and we'll have that center available by the year 2000.
Congratulations, John. Boy. Quite a success, eh?
It's an emotional and memorable experience for everyone on this remarkable voyage. The RCMP, native and civilian paddlers, and the energetic support crew that has been at their side.
To sit back and watch the faces of our members, of our group, as they encountered this tremendous hospitality. And they're going to talk to other members. And attitudes are going to change.
At the farewell dinner the afternoon before the last big push, a $10,000 contribution from the Attorney General, the administration that pays the huge costs related to substance abuse. There's a concert in the evening at Royal Roads. Canadian artists Prairie Oyster, Murray McLaughlin, and Farah sing for free, and all the money raised goes to VisionQuest.
Forward! We're opening another campaign. It's going to be fun out there today, though. Yeah. And we're all coming back from it. Okay, let's check the trim.
Day 31, the final paddle. They've traveled 1,600 kilometers from Hazelton on the Skeena, then down the BC coast, and they're almost there. Awaiting them 20,000 people. Their arrival in Victoria's Inner Harbor will coincide with the start of the first Indigenous Games.
You come ashore and rest, and then celebrate with my people. You are welcome.
The canoes of Tribal Journeys go first. The VisionQuest canoes come last, taking the position of honor.
Count of three, a salute. 1, 2, 3.
We're here. This is it. It's a thrill. And we're late as usual.
It would be honored for you to come and share in the celebrations that is going to begin today. You are privileged to come ashore.
Representatives of each canoe are requested to come forward for personal recognition.
Thank you for accepting us. We come in peace. We come in a good spirit.
Last in line, RCMP Commissioner Phil Murray and Roy Henry Vickers, unique partners in the VisionQuest journey.
Never expected so many thousands of people on the shores here. I'm an artist, I have vision, but I could not have envisioned this. Beyond my imagination.
The vision Vickers has clearly in his mind is to build a recovery center to treat the addictive personality, where no one has special status, where all people, irrespective of race or their ability to pay, are welcome.
I feel a great sadness already. I'm not looking forward to the end. and yet I am. It's been a long journey. It's been a hard one. It hasn't been a holiday. It's been hard work, good hard work. But you make friends on this trip. I look at the photographs in this memory album, and I see many, many people that I've been touched by, and I hope to be able to keep in touch with them. But it's going to be sad to see them all go. The purpose of this journey was to bring a greater awareness to the general public of our VisionQuest Recovery Society. So my wish is that the people of Canada will see the vision in a large scale and help us get this recovery center built.